Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unshaken, Staying Grounded in a Shifting World. I am your host, Ashley, and I am so glad that you are here. I hope that you have had another blessed week. Mine was long and exhausting because I had girls' camp, but it's okay. We made it through in one piece, which is sometimes all that you can ask for. My husband, Barak, gets to be with us again today. I'm super excited about that because he has the best thoughts.
Thank you.
I had a really bad migraine today, so I'm going to be nursing a Coke. So please ignore that if you're watching the video. And also, we learned the hard way last week that my dogs panic if we're both in here with the door closed. So we're going to leave the door open today and see if that solves the issue.
Yeah.
But today we wanted to talk about miracles. That's what I felt prompted that we should talk about. And we just wanted to share some of the miracles that we've seen in our lives. And I also wanted to share the definition that the church has in the topics and questions section in the gospel library. So yeah, we can probably just start with that. Start with the definition.
I think that's a good idea.
So I'm going to have him read like the overview blurb, and then there's like a more in-depth section that y'all can look up if you want, but there's a little part in the next section that I really like. So I'm going to have him read both of those, if you would please, my love.
Yeah, so we're all on the same understanding, I guess. It's, a miracle is an extraordinary event caused by the power of God. Miracles are an important element in the work of Jesus Christ. They include healings, restoring the dead to life, and resurrection. Miracles are a part of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Faith is necessary in order for miracles to be manifested.
Awesome. Thank you. And then just that little part, yeah.
It just says, a miracle is a manifestation of divine power. Miracles are an important part of the work of Jesus Christ, both in ancient times and today.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Sorry, I'm going to pull his phone back up again really quickly because my favorite part of that was a miracle is a manifestation of divine power. And when I was looking that up today, it really stuck out to me because a lot of times when we think of miracles or read about them, we think of these grandiose gestures, events, things. But God's power can be manifested in almost any way that you can think of, even in small things. And I think they might even be more powerful when it is such a small thing. And so that's why I wanted to throw that definition in there, because it's a manifestation of his power, and that comes from anywhere and everywhere and all over the place. So maybe that can help you guys identify miracles in your life. And like I said, that's just in topics and questions in the Gospel Library app.
I think that's good too to point out too, because a lot of times in my experience, miracles are very personal and very like, not even in like a way of, I don't want to tell anybody about this, but in a way of like, they are miraculous to you, for you, in your situation, you know, like, I guess, you know, there's a couple of ways, yeah. So sometimes we'll say, you know, we should. So sometimes I think that sharing a miracle with someone that it didn't happen to them won't have the same impact, because if it's something that, you know, is maybe just like I really needed somebody to, you know, I was really having a down day and somebody happened to reach out to me and say something. Well, if you share that with somebody else, to them, they could say, oh, it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Or if you go if you tell them about something really crazy that happened, if you're like, an angel came and saved my drowning dog from a river or something. If you tell somebody that and it didn't happen to them, I don't think that they'll believe you. You know, and so it's very, like, it's interesting talking about miracles. I don't think we'll get too specific. We'll share some of our examples of some of the things we've seen, but really it's, you know, these were miracles for us. And, I mean, yeah, I'll talk more about it in a second, but I'll let you say whatever you were planning on sharing.
Yeah, I think going off what you just said, it is important to keep, I think, a lot of your miracle type moments to yourself if you feel like that's correct, because a lot of people won't understand the gravity, of how important they are. And I know that, like, when I share something really personal and spiritual and special between, like, me and God, and it's not received well, it's very hurtful. So I think that's what Barak is trying to say, is that, like, treasure your miracles and only share them with those that you can really trust and will receive them well. I mean, you can obviously share them with whoever you want, do whatever you want with them, because it's your story. But I have just had the experience, and I'm sure Barak has too, where people have not received what you've said well, and it's hurtful. And there's the scripture that says to not cast your pearls before swine, and not that, you know, people are swine, but don't give away things to people that aren't going to appreciate them.
Yeah.
Is essentially what we're trying to say. So did you want me to share my story? Did you have any other thoughts?
I wanted to share some of my thoughts were on like, I had some stories. I was thinking of the scriptures and some from just like my life. But yeah, you go ahead and share your story.
Oh, okay. So I've been really excited to share this because it was really exciting for me. And it happened at girls' camp this week, and actually before girls' camp. So I guess I'll just dive right into it. So I've been having some health issues for a while, and we don't have ministering brothers assigned to us currently, and so we work with the missionaries a lot right now. So I just texted our elders. Mm-hmm. They're our elders. But I texted them and I was like, hey guys, like, I'm going to girls' camp this week. I'm worried about my health being able to keep up with what I need to do. Like, can you come give me a blessing of healing and help Barak? Excuse me, because you're essentially supposed to have more than one person, if you can, for blessings of healing. Anyways, so they come over. They're really great kids. We're actually kind of sad because one of them, like, went home today. Yeah. His mission was finished. So we wish him the best. And he's just, that's such an exciting time of life that they're in right now, young, early 20s. Anyways, so they come over, give me a blessing, really nice blessing. And then afterwards, one of them looks at me and is like, I don't know why I feel like I should tell you this, but I'm going to. And he says, so our mission doctor, I don't know if, like, they've completely changed doctors or if this was just temporary, whatever. But he's like, they've started sending us out to a doctor in Opelika, Alabama, and he helped me with the stuff that I needed help with. But I just feel like I should tell you that you need to get a second opinion about the stuff that I'm dealing with. And he was like, I can't remember what the practice is called, but he gave me the name of the doctor and was like, I think this is the name of the practice. And I was like, cool, I will think about that when I have more brain space once girls' camp is over.
You're like, we'll look into that later.
Later, yeah. I was like, I cannot think about that right now. So I thought that was the end of that. Well, we went to this church camp, also in Alabama, that's 4 hours away from where we currently live. And 4 hours away for girls' camp is kind of crazy. But it's a church-owned camp, so that's part of why they go there. Anyways, so it was a really cute camp. Very pretty, out in the woods. But it's the American South, so very hot and humid. It was a rough week. So there was cabins, and there were a bunch of pretty colors, like different colored cabins, yeah. And each cabin had, like, the names of everybody that was supposed to stay in each cabin, including, like, the leaders, obviously. So I find my cabin, and I see the list of names, and there's a sister in there who has the same last name as the doctor that I was told to get a second opinion from. And I was like, this is probably not so serendipitous. And it is a fairly common last name, but I've come to learn that with the Lord, there are no coincidences. So
not that common either. Well, I mean, just we won't say her name on here, but yeah, it's not like Smith or anything,
But it's like almost right. Smith, at least for me. So especially in Utah, where we're from. Anyways, so on Tuesday, she and I are just in the cabin, and I'm like, hey, so this is probably kind of weird, but do you know Dr. So-and-so who happens to work in Opelika? And she was like, yep, that's my husband. And I was just like mind blown, and so she sent me her husband's information. And so tonight, before we started filming, I was looking at the website for his practice, and they specialize in what I need, and my insurance covers him, which is very, very exciting because we have a lot of issues with our insurance.
It's just insurance.
And it's just
nobody's ever in network and everything's mixed up and sideways.
But because it's in Alabama, our insurance will be more likely easy to work with, is how I'm going to put that. So
it's a mess, but
anyways, so this just seems like it's going to be a miracle snowball. And so I don't know, I just texted her tonight and I said, I'm so grateful for you and for Heavenly Father. And I told her what I just told you, and I said, thank you so much for sharing that information with me. And so this is to be continued, but I just love, that's so cool for my brain. I love seeing stuff like that, where the elders get a prompting and they tell me about it. And then immediately the next day I see a continuation of that. And I always, I mean, everybody loves this, but when you see the dots connect so quickly like that, it was literally back to back to back. So anyways, that was a really special miracle for me.
I think that's a perfect example of what I was talking about a second ago too, of that miracle to us, sure, there could be it could just be some weird coincidence or something, but the fact that it was exactly what you needed, exactly when you needed it, and it just right in time, and it happened to line up with when we needed to get new medication anyways, when we needed to, so it just happened to line up, and it's not earth-shattering or life-changing, but it was, it's kind of a called shot by the missionary, saying this doctor, and I bet it'll work, and it worked.
That's the other really cool part. As he was I feel prompted to tell you this, so I'm going to tell you it, and then we see the evidence of him following through on that prompting. So that was the other thing, is I was so excited all week to tell this elder, oh my gosh, here's the result of the prompting that you had. Thank you so much for following that prompting. And another part of why this is a miracle, at least for me, is because I usually, how do I put this? I follow specific guidelines for when I am looking for a doctor. And this doctor does not fit those typical guidelines for me. And so Barak, after the blessing on Sunday night, was part of the reason why Elder Warner told you to do this is because this doctor doesn't fit your normal parameters. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And also, he practices an hour away from where we live, so it's not practical for me to do that, to go and see him. So, I mean, that's why it's miraculous. You know what I mean? Is because it's outside the norm for us. It's far away. But he specializes in what I need. He's in network. I met his wife at girls' camp, because it's state girls' camp out here every year. And so I'll get to see her again. Hopefully, she was really nice.
So this is part one.
So this is part one.
You can keep coming back and tell you, because it's one of those things, you got a good feeling about it too. So we'll tell you how it all worked out.
Yeah. And the other part, yeah, like he just said, is a medication that I'm taking ran out last week, and it's a weekly thing that I'm taking, and my normal doctor sent it to the wrong pharmacy, and I need it to come through a specific pharmacy. Barak called the doctor during the week while I was gone to girls camp, said, hey, we need it sent to the correct pharmacy. And then we never heard back from them. So that also seems to us to be evidence of like, okay, this part is done. Now we're moving on to this next part of the story that we just told you guys about. So that was another like evidence for me. Like, okay, you need to go see this other doctor now. At least about this specific thing. I mean, I like my doctor where I currently live, so I'll keep seeing her too. But anyways, you guys get what I'm trying to say. So it's just kind of been like one thing after another, and the puzzle pieces are all kind of fitting together. So that was so exciting to me. Like I just love seeing spiritual puzzle pieces come together like that, especially when they come together so fast. That's always really great too.
And something that we've been both trying to do is to recognize those little things, because something that this has been a thought in my head for a long time is that miracles themselves can be very easy to forget, surprisingly, and like easy to ignore. And even when I think back to, I keep a little journal. I keep a written down of list of things that we found miraculous. Like, we've talked about it before, I'm sure, of how I ended up getting a job down here and how we felt, where we needed to look. And after nearly a year of sort of fruitless searching, just the first place in this place that we never heard of before happened to hire me. And it's a great, great job that I love.
Great job.
And, I remember feeling at the time a very strong spiritual sort of confirmation of like, this is what you're supposed to do, or this is what's supposed to happen. And it was more than just, coincidence. It was, I like it, like a called shot. Like, it was like, this is it. Mm-hmm. And then it ended up working. But now when I'm sitting here talking about it, like, I can't feel that feeling anymore. And so if I hadn't written down, like, go back and read my notes on it, like, I was certain, I was sure at that moment. And so I think about, like, if you're familiar, in the first book of Nephi, there's a part where, just to summarize, Nephi's brothers are arguing with him and they start hitting him with a stick. And an angel shows up, takes the stick away, and says, stop hitting your brother. And those two, I think to myself, like, if that ever happened to me, I think I would pretty much believe in God for the rest of my life. If an angel showed up and took my stick away. Like, but they don't. They don't end up believing.
Yeah.
And I think it's because if you don't put an effort to keep it in your brain, and you don't actually, like, want it, it won't stick. A miracle doesn't build a testimony by itself. You have to have the feeling behind it, and you have to have the spirit, which is fine. It's like, I'll tell, like, here's a story. This isn't my miracle, but this was something that I found very interesting. It happened while I was on my mission. There was a guy that we were teaching, and he told us about an experience that he had where he was alone in a dark room, and a light filled the room, and he heard a voice tell him that he needed to have what we were teaching him, and he needed to be baptized.
That's really cool.
Yeah, me and my companion were both like, great, let's do it. We were talking to him, setting it up. And it was very interesting to see a bunch of things sort of came up. Like, the church that he was currently going to started pressuring him not to talk to us. His family also started, and he kind of, like, he came to church a couple times, but then he started missing it just because, and then he worked or whatever, and then he put off the meeting with us, and he sort of just fell out of contact. And then anytime we saw him, like, even if I think we saw him walking down the road one time and we waved to him and he just kind of turned around and went the other way and just stopped answering our calls. And I remember thinking, like, that's so crazy to me. I feel like if I had that experience, wouldn't I just be convinced for life? But I think back, I read through my old journals, I look this, and I realize, like, I look back and I say, oh, there was a miracle, and I totally forgot about it.
Yeah.
You know, like, maybe not quite exactly the same, but similar, you know? And so that's why I wanted to make it a goal to, like, keep them, because it seems silly to think that you could forget an angel or forget a, you know, like, powerful manifestation like that. But that's not what builds your testimony. And that's like, I've seen it. I know people who have had powerful spiritual experiences, and if you remind them about it, they go, oh yeah. But they you know, I've got family members and that have told me stories of, like, direct intervention from God in their lives, but they still don't, you know, it doesn't actually change them, and it, you know, it doesn't actually build you the way that you think it would.
If you don't let it. Yeah.
And if you do let it, I mean, even small miracles like the ones we were just talking about with the doctor, with our career, with, like, life that we live, like, they build our faith, you know? It's said in the little blurb that, I mean, it's a part of Jesus's manifestation, you know, it's part of his ministry. And so, but if you let it, it will have an effect on you. But if you don't, you know, your mind just forgets and you move on and get busy with life and other stuff.
Yeah. So it's important to write it down, and it's important not to base your faith just on miracles and saying, well, if I see X, Y, or Z, then I'll believe. That's why you have to have faith first. That's why we're instructed to have faith first, because you have to have that foundation. We're fickle humans with feeble minds. And so it changes, and it can change your life 1 minute, and then if you're not careful, you'll forget, and it won't be as impactful. So it's important to write them down. It's important to remember them. It's important to, something I wanted to say is it's important to have faith and expect that God will do miracles in your life, but don't make that the foundation. Make faith the foundation, and then expect with that faith that God will give you the miracles that you need that are in line with his will. That's the other part, is they need to be in line with his will, and you need to be open to his plan and his way of doing it. And I say that from personal experience, and that's just as much for me and for us as it is for anybody else, because, you know, I'm a human too, and sometimes I'm like, show me first and then I'll believe, and that's not how it works. And other times I'll be like, okay, God, give me what I want, and it's this thing, but he's like, no, that's not what you need, so I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
So
it is a funny one that faith, like, you know, we say faith precedes the sign, and that's almost kind of counterintuitive with the way that you'd expect to learn things in real life. It's kind of like, you know, you learn from experience. For, when I say real life, I mean, like, just sort of
secular things.
things like that. You learn by experience. But I think about the opposite. Like, if God showed up, or if an angel showed up to me and told me what I needed to do, I feel like then, you know, if I'm not ready for it and I still can't do it and I still mess up and still fail, the fact that I've had such a powerful manifestation, almost, it's like I wasn't ready for it, and it's almost more of a condemnation on me now. So, like, we're kind of given this, like, it is true, you know, we don't have the proof of anything, and that's all faith, that's all religion, but if we did have it, then we would have no excuse, you know. So, and
it's a protection for us. That's a lot of times why God doesn't usually send the angels and those type of grandiose things, because if he does, then you're held to that standard and you have to be held responsible for that very big spiritual responsibility that he gave you. And so it took me a long time to kind of accept that concept of like, it's a protection for you because whatever knowledge, we know that whatever knowledge you have in any capacity as far as the gospel goes, you will be held accountable for. So he's like, she's not ready for that. He's not ready for that. I don't want to have to hold them accountable. We're not going to do that yet. Yeah. So, but also, it is kind of a mindset shift. Yeah. Anyways.
What I was going to say is the last that I just thought, like, I have noticed also, once we started writing things down and really taking note of them in our life and referencing and stuff, they come more frequently. Yeah. And I think that's kind of like God saying, I appreciate when you take the time to listen to what I have to say. If you're not listening, if it's, if he's just going to give you something amazing and it goes away after a couple days because he didn't, it's like, oh, that was cool, and then moved on, he's probably not going to talk to you as much, or he's not going to show you as many miracles. And I think it's also one of those things, once it's kind of like when you learn a new word, like you start seeing them more often, and then you start really thinking about it and say like, before I might have just thought like, oh, what a weird, funny coincidence. But then you start to think of it like, well, no, hang on. There was more to it than that. And you start to feel it and you start to, see it. So, but it really only comes once you start looking, and start maintaining and internalizing them.
Yeah. And something that I've come to learn is like, God is like us and we are like God in the way that we have emotions, right? And so just like when we do something nice for somebody, we want to be acknowledged. And so God also wants to be acknowledged in the nice things that he does. And so that's why it's important to write them down. That's why it's important to pray and say thank you. Because God wants to know that you appreciate what he's doing, just like anybody else does.
And not that, like, God will withhold his miracle out of pettiness or whatever. He doesn't do that. But it is, it's like, it's all for us, it's all for our benefit. If it's not going to help us, he's not going to do it. So it's an interesting one. But you do see more once you start looking for it. So yeah.
For sure. And I kind of wanted to bounce back to talking about Barak's job. That was like the other thing we wanted to talk about mainly in this episode. But yeah, so we got the prompting in 2023 that we needed to move to where we currently live. And then Heavenly Father made us wait a year, which was really hard because we were excited to move. And so we were in the temple, we'd been fasting, we'd been praying for information on this prompting that we had received. And we were in the temple and we were in the celestial room one day. And I just got a prompting of where Barak should start looking. And it was very specific, and it was in a place that we had literally never heard of before. And so when the time was right, I got that prompting, and then he started looking for jobs in this area, and the first job that he applied to was this one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so we saw a miracle with that. We've seen a lot of miracles after, but so when they first reached out to Barak about an interview, like a preliminary interview, they were like, well, we don't pay to fly people out and we don't pay to move people across the country, but they ended up doing both of those things for us. So they paid to fly Barak out for an in-person interview, and they paid for like a whole weekend for us. They paid for the hotel, like rental car. It was so great. Oh my gosh, this company is so great. And then they paid to move us across the country, which was such a blessing because U-Hauls are so expensive. It's dumb. Yeah, it's so crazy. Dumb how expensive they are. Whether you get like the big actual moving van or just the trailer. We just got the trailer. And those are stupid expensive too. And they're cheaper than the big moving vans. So anyways, and also just like a mini miracle that I just want to plug in here is I bought a pickup truck. Because that was my dream car, and I bought it in 2020 because I had just divorced my ex-husband, and I wanted to get rid of the car that he and I bought together. And I always wanted a pickup truck, And anyways, so I just kind of was going through a little post-divorce crisis. And so I was like, forget it. I'm going to buy my truck. It has been a great vehicle, like such a great vehicle. And the reason why I thought of this was because it moved us across the country with no issue. And it also drove 4 hours to girls camp and back and hauled all of the girls' gear. And so, like, for me, my really nice, I mean, it was used when I bought it, but like, it's still a nice, it's a
nice truck.
Nice truck. Let's see, it's a 2017, so it's 8 years old now, but it's
works like this. Works great.
Works like a charm. It looks nice. It's easy on the eyes. I worked a lot during COVID because I worked in a med lab, so I had some extra money. So I put some money into my truck. Anyways, it's nice to look at. It works really well. It moved us across the country. It's helped friends and loved ones move. It helped us get girls to and from girls camp. And so I'm always thanking Heavenly Father for my truck because it is a blessing. Everything that we have is from God. It's all His. And so I'm always so grateful that I have not had any major issues with this truck because I've come to learn that even standard maintenance on pickup trucks is very expensive. So much more expensive than just a standard like sedan. So anyways, love my truck. And for me, it's a miracle. Plus it's fun to drive and I get to drive really fast. And I got my first 2 speeding tickets after I bought my truck. So I have to be careful because it's like obviously really easy to spot. So anyways.
I got you something back about the job thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Sorry. I got a little distracted, but
that's fine.
It had to do with your with your
It was a blessing and then we were able to drive literally across the country in 2 days.
No issues.
With no stopping.
Yeah.
Just like
with stop, but not stopping because of the truck. Like there was no issues with the truck. And so that's another miracle that we've had in our lives. And they adore Barak. They adore him. And I am so grateful for that. I love my husband so much. He is the smartest man that I know.
Thank
Just so intelligent, so sharp. He's an engineer. And so, like, watching him tinker with things and just, like, figure out how to solve problems is awesome. Really convenient around the house when we need stuff fixed. And also, it's, really attractive to have a smart husband.
Thanks, babe.
You're welcome. But, so, sorry, I'm kind of stealing your story.
That's okay.
But
I wanted to share a different thing.
Oh, okay. We've just seen, like, monetary miracles. We kind of talked about that last time with this job. He got a raise earlier than was originally decided. And it was kind of sad because last night I got home from girls camp and he unexpectedly had to stay at a job site for like 5 extra hours. Yeah. 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
But I called Barak this morning because I was like, hey, when you come home, will you bring me a Coke? Because I've got a really bad migraine. And while I was on the phone with Barak, the president of his company just walks in and starts telling him like how great he is and how grateful that he is that Barak stayed and fixed this really hard problem that this client of theirs was happening, and that everybody at the client's site was so grateful for Barak, and that they're just always showering Barak with praise. And that's not to brag, it's just to say that we are so grateful that Heavenly Father gave us this company and that he works for such like honest, upstanding people. Like
it is, and it's kind of rare in this day and age, but it is a wonderful job with wonderful people.
Yeah.
And this is what I wanted to talk about was like when I say I looked for a year, I probably applied to I mean upwards of 200 or 300 places. If you've ever looked for a job,
so hard.
If you've ever applied for a job cold out of where you live, it's tough.
Sucks.
So it was every night. And I got maybe like 4 or 5 interviews.
Yeah.
And so that's why, we got this prompting in the temple, look in this city. And neither of us had heard of it. It was more like, it was kind of funny because like I was like feeling that I needed to look outside of a certain city, and then Ashley felt like you need to look on the border of the state. And so that put together, there was only one place that really fit. And so I was like, okay, I'll look around there.
Mm-hmm.
The first place I applied to after we got that prompting is the one that has been, it's like a dream job for me, you know? So
Yeah.
it's again, it's one of those things that maybe to an outside person who sees that is like, just a coincidence, you know, just happened to, you know, I was qualified for it, you know, that, and well, actually, I really kind of wasn't. That's the other thing, is I actually didn't even, when I saw the listing on LinkedIn, I was like, I don't think I even fit this bill, but I figured, I had just, at that point, I was just applying to everything, you know, pretty much, but, you know, I was like, I'll go for it. Turns out it's perfect. That's what I said last time about, like, being in a new field, because this is not really what I did before, but
yeah,
it is a miracle to us.
It's a miracle to us.
And it keeps giving. It's a miracle that keeps giving.
It's a miracle that keeps on giving. But yeah, shoot, what was I going to say?
I don't know.
About your job, I was going to say something. Oh, well, guess it's not important.
I think we've said a lot about it.
Yeah, we have said a lot about it. So,
Thanks go for it.
I was just going to say that essentially they were like, we like you so much that we're just going to hire you and then like have you train for all the stuff that you're not qualified for yet. And so that is another part of the miracle.
A lot of experience for me, a lot of you know, valuable skills that I'm learning at this place. You know,
and he's
robotics, motion vision, things like that, industrial, like I didn't do any of that before this place, and now I've got certifications, I've got training. It's wonderful.
And so he's got all of these certifications now that he was never anticipating on having, that he can put on a resume in the future if need be. And so that's been really, really special. And yeah, like he was saying, he's a chemical engineer. That's what he studied in school. Yeah. And so this is just like industrial automation. Yeah, an automation engineer. Yeah, is what he is now. He gets to play with robots, so that's fun. That is fun. And 3D printers. So yeah, he loves it, and it was really funny. So after his interview, they took Barak to lunch and they invited me to come with. And I was like, oh, these guys are so nice. And so I was, of course, like any good wife would, I was hyping up my husband to his possible future employers and telling him that he's so sharp, he's hardworking, like he puts his mind to something and he figures it out. And one of them turns to Barak and says, you should have just had her come and do the interview for you. Yeah, she was really talking a big game about me. So it was really funny. So that's like a core memory for me. I don't know. It was a really positive experience. And we're really sad because his boss just quit. Yeah. So went to go work with his son. But so now he's in charge, which we were kind of saying last episode. But anyways, yeah. And I think that's about... did you have another thought? Well, I was just going to maybe list a couple more like miracles that I've seen in my life. At least. Another big one for me is that I got how do I put this? Like the health of my back. I have a healthy back again. Let's put it that way. I had a back injury for a really long time, and it severely impacted my quality of life to the point where I had to like quit working, and it was just a disaster. And the real miracle part of this is like they usually don't perform the surgery that I had on somebody my age. It's usually performed on old people. And so at one place I was told, we're not going to do the surgery because you're too young, which is stupid. Like, if somebody needs surgery, they need surgery. It doesn't matter how old they are. Anyways, and so God actually gave me a prompting for the doctor that I was supposed to go see. And so I went and saw him, and he was like, yeah. I mean, he essentially kind of said the same thing. He was like, usually we don't do it on people your age, but if you really want me to do it, I'll do it. And I was like, yes, please. I can't function. So, and my back has become healthy again. You know, I had to do lots of physical therapy after the surgery, and I continue to do those stretches that I got in physical therapy occasionally, because there'll be moments where, like, you know, I got to stretch it out again. And I also have scoliosis in the exact same area as I had my injury. And that's also where I get my period pain. That's probably TMI for everybody. But that area of my back is just a mess all of the time. And so now it's less of a mess because I was able to have this surgery. But until you are unable to walk, you don't know how important that is. And part of the miracle for me is that I can walk again. The biggest thing for me is, like, so my brother currently lives in France. And so when we occasionally get to go see him, we don't see him as much as I would like. We do a lot of, like, sightseeing, right? And so part of the miracle for me is, like, post-surgery, I'm able to go wander through beautiful cathedrals, and I'm able to go wander through beautiful French medieval villages, and I'm able to go do other touristy stuff. You know, we've been to New York since we were married, like, just other things like that. And actually, New York was right before I had my surgery, so that was pretty difficult. But you guys get my point. Like, I'm able to go and do things that were more or less, like, taken away from me and got really hard. And so it was a miracle for me, because Heavenly Father told me which doctor would do my surgery for me, and he's strengthened my back since then. And I also wanted to plug the priesthood in there, which I kind of did last week, but, like, the blessings helped. You know, I think it's because I had blessings that the surgery worked so well, just so it went hand in hand with the priesthood power and the blessings that I received. But anyways, that's another miracle for me, just is that my back is healthy again, and I'm able to function and do everyday things. So yeah, definitely a miracle. Any other thoughts, baby?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We're always so grateful for those that listen, whether you listen the whole time or just for the first 2 minutes. And we really hope that it helped someone. And we hope that you'll join us next time. And remember that we love you, but Jesus loves you more. And until next time, stay grounded and stay unshaken. Bye.
Bye.